Joining me right now is Elise Hough. She's the CEO of Easter Seals Houston. Also, Andy Dewey. He's with the Houston Federation of Teachers. Elise, Andy, welcome to Houston's Morning News. Good to have you both on.
Glad to be here.
Let me start with you, Elise. I was just talking just during the break with a young lady whose son has Down syndrome and is in the Houston Public Schools. She says that if her child doesn't go to school, teachers don't get paid, money doesn't go to the schools. Are we mainstreaming a lot of these kids so that we get money from the state for them? Does that make sense to you?
It does, and I think what's happened is that, we all heard we need to save money, we need to live within our means, and so we had huge budget cuts. A lot of those hit education, and even more of them hit people with disabilities. And the result of that, it sounds great to save money. The result of that, though, is parents are starting to see as they go back to school, which is you increase the class size and you don't have special ed teachers. Kids who it is inappropriate for are going to end up in the classroom, mainstreamed with their typically developing peers. And so nobody learns.
And Andy, let me just grab you on this. It is difficult for teachers to teach, I would assume, under these circumstances. Are you hearing more of that now from some of your teachers?
Oh, absolutely. The laws are designed to protect the special ed child. If a child is being placed inappropriately by the art committee into a mainstream class, that teacher who may not have the proper training, who has to deal with all the other students, is going to try their very, very best to meet the needs of that child. But as I said earlier, that child's not going to have their needs met, nor are the needs of the other children going to be met. Elections really do have their consequences. The state legislature voted to cut funding, and this is what happens.
Now, I would say this. Listen, we something's got to give here. Unfortunately, here we have a situation where you've got kids that are mainstreamed that shouldn't be, but at the same time, you've got a state that just can't afford to do business the way it has done business. So we're going to ask you guys to hang on. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want you to think about this. Are the real villains here, and I put that in quotation marks, are the real villains here, since we're always trying to look for a villain, the parents? And I want to get your thoughts on that when we come back.
Your morning news continues now on KTRH.
KTRH News Time is 6:22. We are joined this morning by Elise Hough. She's the CEO of Easter Seals in Houston. Also, Andy Dewey. He's with the Houston Federation of Teachers. Elise, Andy, thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, here's my question. We're always looking for, and I put villain in quotation marks, we're always looking for somebody to blame. And I'm not blaming parents per se, but isn't it time, and we'll start with you, Andy, isn't it time that parents step up? If you've got a child that is going to need special attention, if you've got a child that has needs, shouldn't the parents step up and maybe become more proactive with their child's education?
Parents are as proactive as they know how to be. If you want to assign villainy to anybody in this, we need to look at the decision makers in Austin who decided that every child in the state of Texas does not deserve the best education that they can get. They're willing to fund education for some. The ones who are most difficult, who are least able to help themselves, who parents are overwhelmed with this responsibility of a special needs child, these are the ones that are being thrown under the bus with these decisions. The parents aren't to blame. Every parent is doing everything they know how to do.
Elise, would you agree with that? Every parent is doing as much as they can possibly do for their kids?
I think for many of the parents that we work with, they actually have to become the advocate for their child in the school system. And it's not that there's a villain in the school system. It's that there are such limited resources. We as a state have said through our legislators, children aren't a priority. And guess what, babies? It's time for the reckoning. This is what's going to happen. Our kids are not going to receive the education that we expect them to receive. They're not going to enter the workforce prepared.
Isn't it up to us, though, as parents of these kids, as much as we possibly can? And Andy, I guess I'll grab you on this one here real quick. It's up to me to go into my own pocket. I can't expect the taxpayers to educate my child. It is up to me. I have to do what is necessary for my child. I can't blame the state. I've got to do it. It is up to me, right?
It's not the state's fault that you have a special needs child, and it's not your fault that you have a special needs child. Again, every parent is already reaching into their pocket. But should we expect the state to educate our children? Well, the Texas Constitution says yes to that. The Texas Constitution requires the state to educate the children. And so an expectation for the state to do its job is certainly an appropriate expectation. And once again, parents are doing everything they can do. These are special needs children, and they're going to be here for everybody.
Who's going to pay for this,
Andy?
Andy?
Are we going to educate our children?
Where's this money coming from, Andy?
The money is going to come from the people of the state of Texas. Either we want a well-educated workforce, a well-educated population, or we don't. If the decision is we don't, well, then you don't fund it. But I do not and I will not believe the state of Texas believes that.
All right, Andy, I appreciate your passion. Elise, I thank you so much for what you do with Easter Seals. What a tremendous organization. And I thank you for the hard work that you put in. Many times it goes without thanks. So let me thank you and everyone at Easter Seals in Houston for the great work that you do, Elise.